Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Adrian here for digitaldojos.com. Today's video, we're going to be talking about parental control tips for iOS. My thanks to the folks over at Kirby.com, the amazing parental control application for iPhones, iPads, and iPods that allows you to monitor, curb, and block inappropriate content on your child's iOS device for making this video possible. That said, here we are in my iPhone. Today it's all about parental control tips for iOS. Nowadays, a ton of kids, or siblings for that matter, maybe, have iPhones, iPods, and iPads at very young ages. And I get asked quite a bit on, how to help make it easier for parents out there as far as restricting certain usage, limiting certain features and functionality within the iOS device, because, kids are little and they can get into the settings and they can easily purchase things by mistake. They can easily find content that you may not want them to see, or things for that matter. And just in general, the web, the internet, it's a big scary place out there. So here is some tips for you iOS users out there who may have kids who have device or borrow your device frequently, and how you can go about making it a little bit of, much more safer environment. So first off, let's talk about just native things that you can do in the OS. Restrictions. First, if you go into your settings here, which everything's pretty much going to be done in, you go into your general settings here, scroll down until you'll see the ability to see restrictions. You can see mine are off right now. I can choose to enable these. These allow you to restrict certain things here, and you're going to have to enter a passcode if you have one here. So I'll go ahead and enter mine. Now this will enable restrictions. So if you have again, somebody on an iOS device here that you want to restrict specific usage to apps on, you can easily do that here. So for example, if you don't want them going into the iTunes store, iBook store, or podcast, you can easily do that. You can even limit and restrict privileges. So you can have them so that they can't install or delete apps. Very, very useful if you're giving your kid your device and you don't want them accidentally deleting things. In-app purchase is a big one, so you can easily disable that and restrict them from buying anything in an application. And that's very, very useful, because nowadays apps easily pop up and ask you to buy this or that. And if a kid is very small and young and doesn't know what they're doing, they may accidentally click that and spend your money if it's linked up to your iOS account. Now you can also adjust restrictions here for allowed content. So for example, you can rate, for example, if you want explicit content, for them to see this in the musics and podcasts, if they're buying music and stuff like that, you can easily restrict that. TVs, movie shows, books, and more, you can kind of set limits on those. For example, the whole movie rating system, so you can control what they can buy, and all this other great stuff here. You can even have it require password for purchase at certain intervals. All this great stuff. You can control certain privacy with contacts. You can see what apps are allowed to change, which apps you don't want them to allow. So you can really control a ton of stuff within this restriction menu. Very, very useful for parents if they are, one, allowing somebody like their kid to use their device frequently, or if you've recently just gotten them an iOS device, you can control what you want to restrict. Again, and then at the end, you can disable it if you want to turn it off here. Another great tip is to use a feature within iOS known as guided access. To get to here, you would actually just go into your settings, go into general settings, and then from here, go into accessibility, scroll to the very bottom, and you'll see under learning is guided access. A really great tool to enable for parents. You can use this in multiple ways, but parents can use this to restrict app access or certain app access, or set time limits on an app for your kid to use here. So you go ahead and enable it. You can adjust your passcode settings. So basically, you can enter a passcode for you to exit out of guided access mode, or use Touch ID, your preference. You can set the alarm sound for time limits when time limits are ran up. You can have it speak intervals of time. So let's say you set a 10-minute limit. It will speak and allow, it'll basically let the user know that they have X amount of time left, or so on and so forth, when using whatever app that you're setting this up on. And then you can end up using the accessibility shortcut. So when you triple click the home button while guided access is enabled, your accessibility shortcut settings will be displayed. Again, completely depending on you and how you want to set that up. I like to have that one adjusted here. So that being said, here I am in an app like Instagram. And let's say your kid is just using social media too much, or they're using whatever app way too much, and you want to set an interval or time limit on the app. Let's say you only want them to play a video game for 30 minutes or what have you. You would triple click on the app that you want to restrict here, so 1, 2, 3, And then from here, it's going to take me into guided access. And then from here, I can even draw on the screen and circle areas that I would like to disable. So for example, on an app like Instagram, let's say you have a very young kid, you don't want them for the ability to, go to certain parts of applications. You can easily restrict certain parts just by highlighting a button, and they can't click that. It's literally grayed out for them here. From there, you click on the options button in the bottom left, and then you can adjust other things. You can determine whether or not they can use the sleep or wake buttons, the volume buttons, motion, keyboards, and touch within a specific app. And at the very bottom, you'll see that time limit portion. So if you just want to use it as a time limit basis, you can go ahead and set an interval here. Very, very great for games. So let's say your kid's playing a game a ton. You can set a 40-minute limit on the game here and hit done, hit start in the top right, enter your passcode. And then from here, they are in guided access mode. So they cannot exit this application. So they can't click on those gray portions as well. So you can see here, they can't click on that search button down in the bottom left. Ideally, this is more useful in gaming situations for time limits because from here, they can't click the home button and get out. It's locked within this application, and if they're playing a game, they have only, the time dependent on what you set here. And to exit, of course, you can go ahead and enter your passcode again and get out of guided access mode easily. All that being said, those tips mentioned are really great ways for you to do some native iOS settings to help control your kid's iOS device, or of course, set them up on your own device for when your kids use it. However, for a more central and streamlined experience, using an app like Kirby's app, they have the mobile app Kirby for free with their service. If you check it out, this gives you a really great and easy, simple solution. With Kirby, you can set up rules that are the same thing. You can set up time limits specifically. And with this, you can go above and beyond what iOS offers natively. You can set hours during the day into which they can access certain parts of their iOS device, not just limited to one app like the guided access mode. You can choose what to block and when. You can also manage multiple devices rather than just managing, obviously, one. And you don't need physical access after this. That's what's so great about an app like Kirby. You can set certain things and then have it managed on a remote device or remotely via the web. You can monitor usage to see how long your kids are using apps, websites, and more. All of that and more with just this basic application, and again, a really amazing service that is Kirby. So I hoped these parental control tips helped you out for you parents out there, or those who just have maybe even siblings for that matter who deal with iOS devices. Hope you enjoyed the content. As always, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Click on the subscribe button if you enjoyed this content and you want to get more of it. And of course, head over to the site digitaldojos.com for more. Thanks for watching.